Spain was once the wealthiest empire in the world, but over the centuries its economy crumbled, facing crises that brought it to its knees. Today, Spain is making a surprising comeback. How did it all happen? Stick around because what you're about to hear might blow your mind and change how you think about resilience in the face of economic collapse. Did you know Spain's story includes one of the biggest housing crashes in Europe's history, and yet it's now one of the most visited countries on Earth? Intrigued? Are you looking for answers about how this dramatic transformation unfolded? Let's dive in. The glory days. Let's rewind to the 16th century when Spain was at the height of its glory. Back then, Spain was more than just a country. It was an empire that spanned the globe. Imagine vast fleets of ships loaded with gold and silver arriving from the Americas. This wealth made Spain the richest and most powerful nation in the world. Did you know that from 1500 to 1650, Spain brought around 300 tons of gold and 16,000 tons of silver from the Americas? That's enough to build entire cities. But all that glitters isn't gold, or at least it didn't last. Spain's economy began to rely too heavily on these treasures from its colonies, neglecting agriculture and industrial development. Are you looking for the reason behind Spain's decline? Here it is. Wars. Endless wars drained the empire's resources. The Spanish Armada's defeat in 1588 was a major blow, but it was just the beginning. Coupled with heavy taxation and inflation, Spain's golden age started to dim. By the 19th century, the once mighty empire had lost most of its colonies and faced political instability. As countries like Britain and France embraced the Industrial Revolution, Spain was left behind, clinging to outdated systems. Spain's glorious days were over, and the stage was set for economic hardship that would last centuries. The crash that changed everything. Now, let's jump ahead to the early 2000s. Spain's economy was booming, or so it seemed. Fueled by cheap credit and a construction frenzy, the country was experiencing what many called a golden decade. Skyscrapers were rising, property values were soaring, and everyone seemed to be making money. But here's the problem. This rapid growth was built on a shaky foundation. Did you see how easy it was to get a loan back then? Banks handed out mortgages to anyone with a pulse, and people were buying properties they couldn't afford. It was a housing bubble waiting to burst, and burst it did in 2008. The global financial crisis hit Spain like a ton of bricks. Property prices plummeted, leaving millions underwater on their mortgages. Construction projects were abandoned midway, and unemployment skyrocketed. At its peak, 26% of Spain's workforce was jobless. Think about that. Half of Spain's youth couldn't find work. Families were evicted from their homes in droves, and the streets were filled with protests. You are wondering how Spain survived this storm. The answer lies in tough decisions. The government introduced austerity measures, cutting public spending and raising taxes. These moves were deeply unpopular but necessary to stabilize the economy. By 2012, Spain's economy was on life support, receiving a €100 billion bailout from the European Union to save its collapsing banking sector. People were angry, scared, and unsure of the future. It felt like the end of Spain's economic dream. But here's the twist. This wasn't the end. The slow and steady comeback. Here's where things get interesting. Spain could have crumbled under the weight of its economic collapse, but instead it began to rebuild, and it all started with smart reforms. The government made it easier for businesses to hire and fire workers, attracting international companies looking for a flexible labor market. Spain also focused on strengthening industries that had long been its backbone, like tourism. Did you know that Spain is now the second most visited country in the world, attracting over 80 million tourists annually? Imagine that. Tourism alone contributes around 12% to Spain's GDP. But it wasn't just about beaches and historic cities. Spain turned its attention to renewable energy, becoming a global wind and solar power leader. In 2023, wind energy accounted for nearly 25% of Spain's electricity. Did you see those towering wind turbines across the Spanish countryside? They're more than just engineering marvels. They symbolize Spain's determination to adapt and innovate. The tech industry also played a crucial role. Cities like Barcelona and Madrid became hubs for startups, attracting international investment and creating jobs for young professionals. Spain's digital economy is now one of the fastest growing in Europe, proving proving that the country can compete globally. Education and workforce development were equally critical. Spain invested in vocational training programs to help workers gain the skills needed in a modern, tech-driven economy. Slowly but surely, the unemployment rate began to drop. Spain's recovery wasn't easy or quick. It took years of hard work, sacrifice, and resilience to turn things around. And while progress has been made, there's still work, a glimmer of hope. Hold on. Was this the end of Spain's troubles? Not quite. You're looking for a fairy tale ending. Spain's story is far from over. Despite all its progress, Spain still faces challenges. Youth unemployment remains high compared to other European countries, and inflation has put a strain on families. But here's what makes Spain unique: its ability to bounce back. Time and time again, Spain has shown that it can adapt, innovate, and thrive in the face of adversity. So, what's next for Spain? Could it become the Silicon Valley of Europe? Could it solve its unemployment crisis and lead the charge in renewable energy? These are the questions that will shape Spain's future, and the answers could surprise us all. Now, let's talk about what's holding Spain back. Yes, the country has made incredible progress, but challenges remain. Youth unemployment is still a massive problem, with nearly 30% of young Spaniards unable to find work. That's a ticking time bomb for any economy. Then there's inflation. Like many countries, Spain has been grappling with rising prices on essentials like food and energy. This has been a significant setback for families already struggling to make ends meet. But Spain isn't sitting still. The government is investing in digital transformation to make its economy more competitive. Did you know that Spain has launched initiatives to train workers in AI and blockchain technology? These efforts aim to future-proof the workforce and attract high-tech industries. Spain is also doubling down on sustainability. With ambitious goals to become carbon neutral by 2050, the country is investing heavily in green energy projects. These initiatives address climate change, create jobs, and drive economic growth. The road ahead won't be easy, but Spain has shown it has the resilience and creativity to overcome even the toughest challenges. So, what can we learn from Spain's journey? Resilience. Did you see how Spain turned its greatest challenges into opportunities? Tourism, tech, and green energy are pillars of its new success. The future isn't written yet, but one thing is clear: Spain isn't surprised us. And here's the big question: will Spain's economic comeback last, or is another crisis just around the corner? What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it interesting, and subscribe for more stories like this one. Because the story of Spain isn't just history, it's a lesson in resilience, innovation, and the power of a nation to reinvent itself. See you in the next video.